What's up, everyone? Welcome to RotoGrinders NBA Crunch Time. I'm your host, TJ Zwarich, joined by one of the sharpest minds in the biz. Two, if you're including me. We got a small, intimate two-man booth tonight, but we are still going to be ready to break down this slate with you. I'll help you hopefully do a lot better than I did in Kevin Roth's contest last night. I see the chat in the YouTube chat talking about the RG contest that Roth threw out there. Man, who knew Tyrese Martin not starting could throw my main lineup for such a loop where I ended up going to two mid-range plays instead of Martin and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis crushed as I thought he would, but I didn't end up having him in my lineup. And I also had Beef Stew, Isaiah Stewart, who got injured in the second quarter. So didn't run very well over there, but I think I came like 20th in the mini-max or something. So I ended up having a really good MME day. And so I did end up still profiting despite my main lineup doing very terribly. But no one cares about how I did yesterday. They want to win tonight, and helping me break it down so that you all can win tonight, it's Taylor Smith. How you doing, Taylor?
Yeah, doing well. It's a pretty good slate, I think, for a Saturday. It's different, of course, on FanDuel and DK again. FanDuel has the two late games, Denver and Indiana, Phoenix Clippers. So I don't think there's a ton in that game to love, or in those games to love as of now, but Denver does have pending injury news, and there is some value with like the Clippers. So it is a little different over there. And then like Jokic is obviously a pretty big difference as well. So good slates all around. There is a pretty clear spend up that's not Jokic. That should be pretty chalky on this slate, but excited to get into it.
All right, let's break it down. We will start by going game by game here. And then after we go game by game, we'll still do the regular position by position. We'll cover FanDuel. We'll cover DraftKings. We'll make sure everybody is covered for all of the different routes and contests and sites they're playing on tonight. But since there's only two of us, since we have a full hour, I figured we might as well rip through a quick game by game before we do the positional stuff because we got time for it. And so we will start things off with one of the more interesting games on the slate. I think we got two terrible teams, but not a lot of defense should be played. This game should be run at a relatively fast pace. We got Dallas. We got Washington. Who are you interested in getting to on this site? We got PJ projecting for mega chalk over on FanDuel today.
Yeah, it's kind of not the most comfortable chalk at 6,900, but AD is confirmed out again. Thought there was a chance he would play, but still out tonight. So they're pretty thin in terms of usage, in terms of bigs. He's not like a big, but he's kind of a big forward. So minutes should be safe for him. Great matchup, obviously. So even at that price, I think he's a pretty good play. Gafford is in. There was some question about him after he re-injured his ankle last night. Burned a lot of my lineups in the process. But he's officially available. He's been kind of limited anyway since he was injured coming into the season. He's been hovering around like 25 minutes the last couple games. We have him at 22 right now. He's probably a better play on DK, obviously, with the double center thing you can do. But that does kind of give them at least one actual center. D'Angelo Russell's okay on FanDuel. He's only 5'7". I think that's playable, even if not exciting, but he's been bad. This is a good bounce back spot for him. Cooper Flag with the point guard, shooting guard, small forward eligibility on FanDuel is pretty easy to get in the lineups also. We haven't really seen a breakout game out of him yet, but this is as good a spot as any with AD still out and obviously Kyrie still out. So he's fine. You can consider guys like Max Christie, Najee Marshall with Klay Thompson out. But I think that's kind of thin. I think there's better cheap value worth targeting.
I think that makes a lot of sense as well. I don't have a lot of interest in D'Angelo Russell where he's priced up on FanDuel, but I do like that call on DK. I was totally going to go, if Keyshawn George was out, I was totally going to go dumpster diving here with some Julian Champagny and some Corey Kispert and guys like that in some lineups. Don't think I'm going to be doing that now. I do still really like Bub Carrington, though. Projected for 30 minutes in this spot. He was lights out yesterday for everything outside of shooting. Like, he looked really, really good, but just couldn't put the ball in the hoop. He ended up finishing with 10 assists. He had some defensive stats, but he went 2 for 12. If he would have had any type of a, good, just fine to good shooting performance, he probably would have been breaking the slate as well. So I'm still all aboard Bub Carrington today. Kaishan George back makes it a little not as nice of a spot as it was yesterday, I think. Like, I would rather Middleton be in that lineup as opposed to Kaishan George if I'm looking to play some of the other players. But I do still really think this is a good spot for him. I kind of apologize. I missed what you said on FanDuel, but like, say FanDuel tournaments, obviously PJ Washington is a cash core. What are you looking to do in tournaments where he's going to be, 40% on DraftKings, 60% on FanDuel?
Yeah, if that's the case, it's pretty easy to get away from. It is a big slate. There's plenty of mid-range value. There's another game in particular I really like that's not really getting a lot of ownership that we'll get to in a bit. In cash, you're just playing him in single entry. I think it's fine, but that could be a leverage point also if he's going to be that owned. So I don't think he's any sort of must play, even though he does project extremely well.
All right, let's take it to the next game. We have Philadelphia and Toronto. Toronto, 5.5-point underdogs in this one going into Philadelphia. We got Joel Embiid still on a minutes limit in the mid-20s. I wouldn't be touching him on FanDuel. I do think he may be playable on DraftKings, though, where he's pretty cheap. What are you doing with Toronto? What are you doing with Philly?
Yeah, it's not the greatest game. There's not a ton of injury news on either side. Philly's still without Paul George. That's kind of it. I think Scotty Barnes is always worth a shout in the mid-8s. He's shown a ceiling. He's easily the best per-minute guy of the main Raptors. Quickly, there is Pirtle out. So Colin Murray-Boyles, again, I think is a pretty solid value, assuming he would start. You can do the same thing we've talked about before, where if he's chalk, you can play Sandro as a leverage pivot off the bench. The other Raptors I'm not really into. Like, Quickly always projects pretty well. I don't know if there's a huge ceiling with everybody else in, though. Kind of the same story with Ingram and Barrett. On the Philly side, I agree that Embiid is interesting on DK, but even if he's topping out at 25 minutes, I'm still not thrilled about that. Maxi's always viable. He's expensive, but we've seen him play 40 minutes in regulation games and stuff. And that's kind of it. I think the rest of the stuff is kind of priced appropriately. I wanted to add with the Wizards that Alex Sarr is in a really good spot. Obviously would have preferred Gafford being out for Dallas, but still no AD, still no Lively. Sarr's been really good. The minutes have been okay. He's kind of topping out at 30, but 7K on DK, not a lot of competition in the front court for Dallas. They've been one of the worst paint defenses in the league so far. Not that he's like a paint-bound center, but I do think Sarr is a very strong play. And on FanDuel, you can play him at power forward, which is pretty helpful.
Yeah, this Toronto team is interesting because, like, you look at Barnes, Quickly, Barrett, Ingram, all of them have put up some usable scores, but I think unless one of them is out, none of them are really going to be all that interesting. Like, I think you can get to one of them, but I wouldn't want to play more than that in a lineup with at least in terms of those four guys. Quickly probably being my favorite just because he's cheap, starting to play more minutes. Barnes probably number 2, but for their prices, I do think Barrett and Ingram are viable as kind of like a last piece type of thing. And then I prefer, I don't think I get to either of them really on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, I do prefer Mamu over Murray-Boyles. I'm just getting to a little bit more of him. He is nice and cheap, and he's been playing some decent minutes for them, performing pretty well. So Mamu is the guy that I'm getting to a decent amount of from Toronto. And on the Philly side of thing, I do have Maxey, Embiid, Edgecombe, Grimes, Oubre all in my pool, but I think Maxey is going to be the only one I get more than like 5% of. Lakers in Atlanta, this is the game that I'm most interested, I think, on the slate because we have, I skipped Charlotte and Cleveland on FanDuel, but we'll go back to that one. This is the one. Actually, no, we're not going to go back to that one. We're going to do it first, just in case we can get some Atlanta injury news before lock on the off chance. So Chicago and Cleveland 9.5-point favor, 8.5-point favorites in this one. Donovan Mitchell's just been absolutely balling lately. Jared Allen had his first really big game of the season, and Josh Giddey has just been absolutely crushing for the Bulls. The Giddey-Mitchell pairing is something I actually find very interesting tonight.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think with the way Luka's going to be owned, Someone like Giddey's probably going to fly under the radar a little bit, especially in this kind of tough spot for Chicago. But he's been amazing, averaging like over 1.5 fantasy points a minute. He's probably still not expensive enough either. So like that a good amount. I'm getting a lot of Donovan Mitchell also, and I think it's just the nature of shooting guard being a dumpster fire overall. So, it is a good spot for Cleveland. The back-to-back gives me some concern about the Cavs minutes. Like they have been willing to manage them a little bit in these situations, but good matchup. He's not over 9K either. I think you can always make a case for Mobley also against one of the worst paint defenses in the league. And like you said, it's a pretty good spot for Allen also. Chicago is kind of just Giddey or bust. Like I think Io's limited. Don't love the spot for Buzelis either. Vooch, high upside center who's not going to get any ownership, is playable, but it's kind of just Giddey and nothing else for Chicago.
All right. I agree with you. I don't really have anything else to add here. And so we will pivot on to the next one. This is the one that I was talking about. I have a lot of interest in, but we are still waiting on the injury news. We have the Lakers and the Hawks. Jalen Johnson and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 2 starters projected for 30-plus minutes. Both listed as questionable for this one. If one or both of them are out, that's going to open up some mega value on the Atlanta side of things. And I'm kind of playing it right now as though that game is those guys are going to be out, or at least Nickeil Alexander-Walker is going to be out. And I'm just playing a crap ton of Keaton Wallace as things stands right now. That's like a big edge I'm trying to take on the early slate, and I'll adjust things after if it doesn't work out. But we have Luka Doncic, the best play on the slate on one side, and a whole bunch of potential value on the other side. This could be a match made in heaven.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing, you're probably going to get a lot of them anyway. So you probably don't even have to set like a rule for that. But if you're playing 3 to 5 Hawks, I don't know if you need 5, but you're going to be getting plenty of them, especially if more guys are out. They're already without Trae Young and Porzingis and somebody else that I'm forgetting. I think Luke Kennard also is out. So there's a lot to like. Okongwu, I have tagged as a core play. He's power forward on FanDuel, which is nice. He's under 6K on DK. Don't really see any reason to really mess around there and get cute. Mo Gay would look better if Jalen Johnson is out, but he is cheap. I think he's viable either way, under 4K. Should have a role off the bench even if Johnson plays.
Jalen Johnson ruled out.
There you go. Okay, so Mohamed Gay, going to be really good now. Going to be really chalky also.
I think I want to just lock button him now.
It's hard to get away from that. I guess this would lower the ownership.
Walker out.
There you go. So Reese Shea already looks pretty good without Kennard, and now like Keaton Wallace.
I'm gonna I really wanted to get that news after walk. That's how I was playing it. I had 65% Wallace and 45% Mohamed Gay. I really wanted to get that news after walk, but now that we got it before, I think I'm just gonna hit the lock button on both of them.
Yeah, there's not like a lot of awesome punt value anyway. Like there's more now we have on Atlanta alone, but Gay's probably your best sub 4K play on the slate, maybe right there with Keaton Wallace. But I wouldn't be surprised if Wallace comes off the bench again and Krejci starts over him. But Krejci's kind of a defense or nothing guy. He is cheap and he's shooting guard, so that's helpful. And I think he's somewhat playable, but Wallace in that range is definitely the priority.
Agreed.
Who's going to score for this team? Reese Shea,
Keaton Wallace.
Daniels.
Keaton Wallace.
Yeah, I guess
Wallace
so.
over Carrington. Derek Ringering is asking in chat, and I do think yes. Now that is a very clear Wallace over Carrington today. I do still really like Carrington. I think most of my lineups will be playing Wallace, Carrington, and Luka, and just locking in all 3 of those point guards on DraftKings tonight. And so, yeah, I'm going to be loading up on those guys. I'm going to add Krejci to my pool as well. What is the max amount of Hawks you'd be willing to play in a lineup tonight?
I think you can play 5. I think I would not want to go past 4. I feel like that's kind of thin. I don't really trust the Lakers to blow them out either, though. Like the Lakers have injuries. It's Luka and a bunch of random dudes also over there. So even with no one in the lineup, I think Atlanta can somewhat hang, possibly, which makes me feel a little bit better about paying up for Luka. What about you? Would you go 5? I think 4 might be the sweet spot.
I think I'm going to set the limit to 4, but I just am trying to look at it like Wallace, Gay, Risa Shea, Okongwu would probably be the 4 that I'm getting to the most. I don't think I would want to add a Krejci or a Dyson Daniels to either of those lineups. Like, I think those are both players that I'd want to play elsewhere. And so I think what I'm actually going to do, since I'm locking Wallace, I'm going to make a rule to only play one of Risa Shea or Krejci.
Yeah.
Max 1 for those guys. Maybe I'll just add Dyson Daniels to that too, actually, and say max 1 Daniels, Risa Shea, and Krejci. I like that, and then that will itself will give me 4 of those, maximum 4 of those guys, anyways. And so yeah, 4 is my answer as well. Let's talk about this next one. We have the Pelicans going up against the Spurs. Victor Wembanyama projecting for 1% ownership on both sites. I think that'll probably go up now with this value, but I don't think people really want to play him because he has been struggling and he is pricey, Taylor.
Yeah, it is a good bounce back spot against the Pelicans, who have pretty much nothing on the front line to throw his way. So if there is a spot where he will kind of come back to life, I think this is it. He is super pricey though. And Luka is just in such a smash spot that it's hard to prioritize Wemby, but playing them together is pretty appealing if you can swing it, which I think you can pretty easily now. I don't really think that'll be super contrarian, but at the same time, I really don't think Wemby's going to be like mega chalk at all, regardless. So I like that. I think Castle is okay, just because of shooting guard being horrible, as we've talked about. But Fox is back, so that might take some ball handling away from Castle and stuff. Vassell is cheap on FanDuel. I guess that's okay at 5.5. And that's it. There's really no one else on San Antonio that looks any good.
Agreed. This recent news did make it so that I am going to be getting a ton of Wemby today. Personally, he is my 4th highest owned player now. I have a lock button on Gay and Wallace. I have 70% Luka and I have 40% Victor Wembanyama. And so it's going to be a big time stars and scrubsy day for me. If Wemby struggles like he has the past few games, I'm not going to be making any money tonight, but that is okay. We'll just be moving on to the football slate the next day. Next game, we have Portland at Miami. We're still waiting on Jaime Jaquez, who is interesting.
I think he's in. Yeah,
he's in.
Mm-hmm.
There, yeah, just got that as well. Larry Nance ruled out. Dean Wade available to play, and then we just got the Jaquez news. He's actually, I think, viable on FanDuel for that price. Don't think I'll get there on DraftKings. The 3 guys I think I have the most interest in this game: Drew Holiday on the Portland side, Wiggins and Powell on the Miami side, and then maybe some Davion Mitchell on FanDuel. How about you?
Yeah, this is the game that I think is very interesting. It has like a 240 total. It has a tight spread. These are the top 2 teams in the league in pace this season. Miami and Portland second. So no one's getting here. It's a lot of mid-range plays. There's no real value on either side. So I like kind of getting some pieces here and hoping it actually shoots out. I agree about Norm Powell and Wiggins on the Miami side. I think you can make a case for Khalil Ware again without Bam. He's 6K, but like essentially a straight line, a Okongwu pivot. I think it's okay. Portland in general is tougher. Like they're not cheap. I think Avdia, it's a really good spot for him at 8.5 if you can swing that. Holiday, I agree about that. I think Sharp on FanDuel might be a little cheaper. He's just not really getting the minutes, unfortunately. So while I do want to get into the game, it's tough to do that. But there are a few pieces I think that stand out.
All right, let's pivot to the next one here. Not on DraftKings slate, but yes, on the FanDuel slate, these last 2 games. First up is Indy and Denver. Denver still has Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon questionable, whereas Indy might get Nemard back, but it doesn't really matter because they've all been kind of priced up to that point. Denver, I feel like, is super duper interesting if some of these injuries with like Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon break our way. It probably if Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon are out, say you knew that right now, Murray and Gordon are out. Who do you prefer, Jokic or Doncic?
I think it's still Luka. But again, it's not like the right answer. There's never really a right answer when it comes to Jokic, or like fading Jokic. So it's like Luka's more expensive than Jokic on FanDuel also. They're both over 12K. I assume Luka will be the more popular one because center is center on FanDuel and you can only play one. If we had that news, I might lean toward Jokic just for the ownership discount, but I don't think there's a wrong answer there. I think the value that might emerge is like Bruce Brown, which I don't feel great about. I think I'd rather play the Atlanta stuff, obviously. And then I guess you can make a case.
Probably look pretty good.
Yeah, I guess you can make a case for Cam Johnson. He's been horrible, but he's cheap, and it's a good spot against Indiana. Indiana side doesn't really have a whole lot. Like if you think they keep it close, Siakam is there. Isaiah Jackson is cheap, but I don't think you're playing him at center on FanDuel. Nembhard is also questionable. He's 5K flat. If you want to take that shot in a tournament, I think it's doable, but really not the most appealing game overall.
Couldn't agree more on that one. Obviously, unless that Denver side pops, we get some injuries here, then they do look a little bit more interesting, but they do still have a deep enough bench that between, Cam Johnson, Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, all of these guys, like there is still enough ways that things could go wrong. They wouldn't reach the Atlanta level of absolutely load up on these guys. Next final game, we have Phoenix, we have the Clippers. Dylan Brooks, Mark Williams, both listed as questionable on the Phoenix side. Ivica Zubac looking like he's going to be a pretty good play. No Kawhi Leonard. James Harden projecting decently. I think this is probably the least interesting game on the slate.
Yeah, I think, it's Clippers only, though. Like, Zubac I have tagged like 7K flat, just a good spot for him. Mark Williams is not a good defender, so even if he's in, I'm not worried about it. Harden still under 9K, and without Kawhi, he's still been very productive, so you can make a case for that. John Collins as a value off the bench. I assume they will start him eventually, but they're not doing it yet. And that's it. Like, I want nothing to do with Phoenix, regardless of the news, and the rest of the Clippers are just kind of eating into each other. So Zubac is great, Harden's pretty great, and nothing else.
All right, time to go position by position here. We'll talk some cash games. We'll talk some tournament pivots off of those cash games. Talk some FanDuel, talk some DraftKings. But before we do, it's a great time to let you know about shot quality. If you're playing NBA DFS and still relying on box scores, you're already behind. Shot quality gives you the most predictive data in basketball, breaking down every shot to know what should have gone in, not just what did. Right now, you can grab a free 3-day trial just by heading to the link in the show description below on YouTube. After that, it'll renew monthly for $39.99. Don't play blind, play smarter with shot quality. Plus, if you want access to more sports, not just NBA, you can get yourself some Combo Pro. It's only $5 more than NFL Premium, $79.99 for your first month, $40 off. Get yourself some Combo Pro, get access to Lineup HQ, SimLabs, and NFL, MLB, NBA, or MLB's done, NBA, NHL, college football, MMA, PGA, all of it. Get yourself some Combo Pro, one of the best deals in the industry. We'll go DraftKings first here, just because that's the one that I have up right now. And I had the screen share up for FanDuel for the game by game. And so I think the DraftKings people, they're going to get to go first here. We got Luka projecting for mega chalk at the point guard position. And I don't think it's updated just quite yet here, but obviously now we do have Keaton Wallace that has popped open as well. What do you plan on doing here at the point guard position on DraftKings?
Yeah, Wallace pops into pretty much every lineup that you run in Lineup HQ. He's 3,600. Let's see who we have projected to start. We have him projected to start.
No minute limit for De'Aaron Fox.
Huh.
7,200 De'Aaron Fox. How many minutes do you think you could conceivably get?
Do you remember what his injury was? Was it lower body?
I don't. Do you
I feel like that's kind of a reach, but if he's truly not limited, which I don't fully buy, I think it's viable in large field, but probably not needed.
Kind of how I feel too.
Yeah, so Wallace, I should probably tag as a core play. He's just too cheap for the role he's going to have. Even if he doesn't start, I'm okay with that. Luka at the top, you are playing on this slate, especially on DK, where he's $1,000 cheaper than he is on FanDuel. Bub gets a downgrade with the Keaton stuff. Still a decent play in a vacuum, but with Keyshawn back, it is a little bit murkier for the Wizards backup, or the Wizards guards, at least. Like Drew Holiday in tournaments. We talked about Giddey in tournaments. Marcus Smart, probably not. And then there was one more I wanted to shout out. Oh, Jose Alvarado, I think, in a tournament's also kind of interesting. 4,300. Pelicans have injuries. No Jordan Poole, no Zion. Not a good spot, but he is affordable, and he's historically a decent per minute guy.
All right, take me to shooting guard.
So Dyson Daniels is popping a lot now, and I think it's fine just because shooting guard generally sucks. And he's like, someone has to score for this team, and I think he's one of the most likely candidates kind of by default. It's not really his game, but I don't mind the spot against the Lakers. Trey Murphy is decent in the mid-range. Still no Zion and Poole. We haven't really seen him pop off, but we know the ceiling is there somewhere. It's just kind of a tough spot against San Antonio. Donovan Mitchell at the top. I'm probably not getting to as much now that we do have Daniels looking better, but still a very good play. Still under 9K against the Bulls. Vit Krejci is popping a little bit under 4K. You know, very low floor with him. Even in this role where he should have plenty of minutes, it's not a safe play, but he does have good positional stuff with shooting guard, small forward. Keyshawn George, Cooper Flagg, and RJ Barrett, probably tournament only. I think Jaime Jaquez is okay. Stephon Castle is okay, but again, with Fox back, it's kind of hard to get too excited about Castle.
Yeah, agreed there 100%. This is just, it's shocking how this has kind of always been one of the premier positions in the NBA, and it's just so bad. Like, it's just so bad from a DFS perspective lately. I think Trey Murphy is probably going to be the guy that I end up getting the most of, but it is tempting to just full out punt with a Vit Krejci or even like a Drew Smith, Trey Johnson. Like, it's just such a gross position if you're not spending up for a Mitchell or a Murphy or a Dyson Daniels, of course, as well. Take me to small forward.
So this one's not a lot better. PJ Washington, one of your top overall guys here, if not the top overall guy, but it's PJ Washington. It is a good spot against the Wizards. Going cheap is pretty appealing. Risa Shea should have plenty of minutes, should have usage also, given the state of their roster right now. 4,400. Chalky guy who's reliant on his shots falling is not the most comfortable play, but he's cheap enough on this slate. Sadiq Bey and Herb Jones, a couple of cheap Pelicans who probably looked a bit better before the Atlanta stuff popped up. Tumani Kamara always has a solid role, and I do like that game environment for Portland and Miami. So Kamara a little bit get that spot. You can play Krejci here. Would have preferred Justin Champagnie if Keyshawn was out, but he is not. And I mentioned Najee Marshall being okay, but he's certainly far down the list at this point.
Bub Carrington is not in the starting lineup. It is Trey Johnson starting over him. I don't think that matters all that much. I do still think he is a really strong play. Probably more usage off the bench. May not get to quite as many minutes, maybe closer to 27 instead of 30, but I still do think he should probably get some more usage off the bench, and so nothing wrong with playing him today whatsoever.
Do you like Trey Johnson? He is shooting guard, I think. So that's
helpful. He is. I'm playing him, but not like a ton. So like I'll have my new run in about 7 seconds here. I can tell you exactly how much of him I have. And I think hopefully this should be my final run here, and I'll just be able to set and forget a little bit without much news left that we're waiting on over on DraftKings. But Ty Johnson, I am getting Trey Johnson, sorry. I am getting 10%. So not a lot, but a decent amount. Shooting guard for me now is mostly Dyson Daniels, Trey Murphy, Donovan Mitchell, Norman Powell, Cooper Flagg. So he is next after that group of guys at the shooting guard position. At small forward, I'm mostly just punting with Vic Krejci, it looks like. Sadiq Bey, I'm getting to a fair amount. Zach Reese-Shea getting to a fair amount. So I'm actually choosing the pay down route a little bit more than going up to PJ, but I am still going to have about 25% PJ Washington here as well, taking me to power forward.
Yeah, so I picked a bad time to reload, so I'm waiting and stalling. Mohamed Gay under 4K. Do we have him projected to start? I assume we do. Yep. He's cheap. He's pretty good per minute. Yet another Hawk to throw into the mix. I think Ricochet is the weakest of the cheap Hawks starters. Like, I prefer Wallace. I prefer Gay. I assume the field will agree. But Gay is still Ricochet is a strong play at small forward. So Gay, borderline core play. Andrew Wiggins, mentioned liking this Portland-Miami game several times. Avdia is a bit easier to get to now with all this value. Evan Mobley, Scotty Barnes, like there's a lot of good stuff to pay for at power forward, and I don't really think the field's going to be doing that with Gay being pretty chalky. Sadiq Bey also should be somewhat chalky here. I think small forward's where you play him, though, if you do play him. PJ Washington, less of a priority now, not a core play for me. And then Murray Boyles, I think with this Gay thing, he's going to go completely overlooked. Ditto for Derek Queen, who... It's frustrating that he's coming off the bench behind Kevon Looney, but very good per minute guy without Zion, without Poole. The minutes could come up a little bit for him as well. So Queen is now a very, very strong tournament play, I think, especially like there's a chance he could get blowout run if the Pelicans get their doors blown off in this game, which they probably will. So there really is a lot to like at power forward overall.
Yeah, I hit the walk button on Mo Gay, but I still ended up with about 15% Derek Queen as the tournament play, as well as just a secondary, either playing one of them at the center or at the secondary forward in this spot. So I'm with you there 100%. Not really anybody else to add here for me other than Andrew Wiggins, Denny Avdia, two guys I like playing. You talked about Scotty Barnes and Evan Mobley. What do you think Scotty Barnes' ownership is going to come in at? Because this is a guy that was projecting for like 25% before, but that was prior to getting this Atlanta news.
It's going to be under 10%, I think, just kind of by default. Like, there's a ton else to like at power forward, and that game in general, I don't think is really going to get a lot of attention. I do prefer Avdia personally between the two, but Barnes is always very good at low ownership.
Center position, Alex Sarr is looking like the mega optimal guy here on DraftKings. How do you feel about Sarr? What are you doing with the rest of the position?
Yeah, I love Sarr. I talked about him when we went game by game a little bit. No AD, no Lively for Dallas. The Mavs allow a ton of points in the paint. Without those two guys in there, Sarr stretches the floor and stuff as well, but great per minute. He's been great this season. He's still affordable. Very strong play. I think Okongwu should be the chalkiest guy here. Still cheap. Should be starting in place of Porzingis. Again, like the Hawks are just kind of jumping off the page, and it's pretty justified with how shorthanded they are. You can play Gay here, but not really my favorite way to play that. Sandro, you talked about, even off the bench, if he doesn't start in place of Pirtle, still a very good per minute guy. Even in 20 minutes, he can get there for you in a tournament. We talked about Queen. We talked about Embiid a little bit on DK being decent. And then Wembanyama is Wembanyama. If he's going to bounce back, I think it should be tonight.
Yeah, with all the value that has opened up, I'm really hoping that people still don't gravitate to him a ton. Like, I think he's left a bad taste in people's mouths over the last few nights with him struggling. But I'm just really like, he's not going to be, 2% owned like we were projecting before, but I really hope it's like 15 or below. Like, I hope he doesn't get steamed up because of all the late value. I hope he gets ignored because he's been struggling. That's my hopes, because I'm definitely going to be overweight on him today. We're projecting him for about 11% ownership now, it looks like. Let's switch over to FanDuel. Go position by position here. Then we'll take your questions. You got any questions? Throw them into the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat on YouTube. get them into the YouTube chat as well. YouTube, if you're watching us live, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our future shows, and help us keep the lights on over here. All you got to do is hit that like button. It's free to do. Just give it a little click. Point guard, FanDuel. We have Keaton Wallace. The projections and the ownership have now updated. So we got Keaton Wallace over here. Obviously a core play from a cash perspective. It's done. You plug in Luka, you plug in Keaton Wallace, you move on to the next position. Easy peasy. But what else are you looking to do here in tournaments? 44% Keaton Wallace. You want to get over or under that?
Probably over. Not by much. I don't know. Like in NBA, you can kind of get pretty condensed, but it is still somewhat fragile. They just don't have a lot of options offensively. Like he's a guy who can score in theory. So it's a tough fade. He's easier on DK where he's 3,600, but even at 4K, you just plug him in with Luka. That's going to be the vast majority of the builds on FanDuel with those two occupying point guards. So pretty much anyone else is going to be very low owned. I think Drew Holiday is my favorite point guard only option. That's not those two guys. You can always consider Giddey, Mitchell, Cooper Flag still looks decent, but I think shooting guard is where you'd play him.
Agreed. I think like Davion Mitchell, Bub Carrington, Jose Alvarado would probably be the three that I'd be most likely to utilize as a pivot off of Keaton Mitchell over here on FanDuel, where he is priced up a little bit more than he is on DraftKings. Not a ton. He's still super cheap. I saw a few people asking about Marcus Smart. Smart to me would fall below Davion Mitchell, below Bub Carrington, below Jose Alvarado as well. But we will touch on that a little bit more when we get to some questions here. Shooting guard position is where this is pretty wide open, Taylor, because if you're spending up for, especially you're spending up for Luka for sure, but then if you're going to try and pair him with a Jokic or a Wemby, it's incredibly hard to do. And so you're automatically sacrificing the James Hardens, the Cooper Flags, Donovan Mitchells. Those guys aren't going to be touching your lineups. Stephon Castles, Trey Murphys, and you're going to be stuck going to Trey Johnson, CJ McCollum, Marcus Smart, Pele Larson, somebody like that here. So how do you like to tackle the shooting guard spot?
Yeah, those guys are okay. I think Trey Johnson is the one who's most interesting now that he's starting, but that could kind of inflate his ownership, I would think, as well. If you're paying for Jokic, it's okay making the sacrifice. I think because I like Zubats, I don't think you really have to do that. Famous last words, fading Jokic, but it is a back-to-back for Denver. Not that it matters. I think James Harden is the top overall guy here, shooting guard only on FanDuel for some reason, but no Kawhi. Good spot against Phoenix. Not worried about that. Dyson Daniels, Cooper Flag, we talked about looking a bit better. Steph Castle in a tournament, I guess. I don't love it. I much prefer just paying all the way up for Donovan Mitchell to fill that spot. I think I'd rank Harden ahead of Mitchell slightly, but
that was going to be my next question.
Go wrong either way. Yeah, I just think Cleveland on a back-to-back, there's enough uncertainty, I think, with their minute ceiling to where I'd go with Harden there.
Was Harden called out on NBA 2K? Did a child call him washed? Because that's really what we got to be inputting for projections.
Yeah, we didn't give him the 2K bump as far as I know. So
small forward. What are you planning on doing here? We've seen PJ Washington's ownership drop dramatically since this Atlanta news.
Yeah, he's just not the priority. Like before, the value was kind of sketchy and obvious that you really have to fill this out with him. There's not much of the great value at small forward. Like Risache would be the cheapie. I think is going to be somewhat popular at 4-4. But I think people are getting to the other stuff first before they plug him in. I mentioned on DK liking Kamara here. I think he's an excellent play on FanDuel where he's a bit cheaper in that Miami Portland game environment. Same thing with Avdia. Same thing with Wiggins. All these guys are much easier to get to now. With all the other value we have. Keyshawn George, I think, very low ownership on FanDuel. We've seen ceiling from him this season. So it's a bit weird paying up for him after last year, but 6,200 playing through an illness tag for what it's worth. So there is that to consider, but I do still think he's a solid play.
All right. Power forward.
Okongwu. and Moge. I think that's kind of it. You can play them both at center if you want, but it's very easy to plug them in at power forward and still get Jokic if you want to do that, or Zubats if you want to do that, or Wemby if you want to do that. Otherwise, it's the same guys: Wiggins, Avdia, Risa Shea, Alex Sarr. We talked about being an awesome play. Not super into the Cavs, but they're viable enough against Chicago.
If you named him as well, never mind, my apologies. But Sadiq Bey, one other guy that I would throw in there, actually coming in pretty low owned here over on FanDuel. Like him quite a bit. And then at 12-5, it's not going to be pretty, but Wemby's the guy that I want to really try and pair with Moge here. I wonder, is it possible? Wemby, Jokic, Luka, 3,700 per position. It's doable. Give me some. Okay. So let's try this for real. Keaton Wallace, 36.25 per position. Do we have any full 3,500 punts we could use? Trey Johnson's an actual good play. Let's mix him in.
What's Vít Krejci over there? Is he too pricey?
Oh, 3.8. He's probably a little too pricey. Yeah, a little too pricey for Krejci unless we used him over Trey Johnson. That's actually interesting. If I was running multiple lineups on FanDuel, one of them would be trying this. And I don't know who Asa Newell is, but that's somebody you can throw in cheap. I guess not because he's power forward. Isaac Okoro, sure, let's do it. I would have some of these guys. A Micah Peavy, I've never heard of that dude in my life, but I would try it if I could make that lineup happen. That's kind of fun. If I was running a bunch on FanDuel, that would be one thing that I would be trying as well. Just one for fun. Put a Luka, Wemby, and a Jokic in there together. Center position, if I'm choosing one of Jokic or Wemby, I guess it's probably Jokic. But I do just really think Wemby's going to have a big, big bounce back game in one of these ones. Who are you prioritizing here at the center position on FanDuel?
Yeah, I think I would agree, Jokic. He's just shown a much higher floor than Wemby, and the ceiling is comparable. So they're both on back-to-backs for what it's worth also. So I do side with Jokic there, especially since there's potential news with Denver, with Murray and Gordon questionable. So he could look even better by the time that game rolls around. Wemby has to deal with Fox coming back, which I don't think will hurt him a ton, but it could. That's another usage guy that's entering the lineup there over Champagne. Dollar for dollar, I think Spots is the best play here if you're not paying all the way up. Alex Sarr, we talked about. The Hawks, we talked about. And that's kind of it. I'm not playing Isaiah Jackson, even though he looks decent point per dollar wise. I think you're muted.
I am muted. Obviously, Keaton Wallace, Moge, Luka Doncic. Those are the core three on both FanDuel and DraftKings today of cash games, even tournament builds. Build around those three guys and figure out the rest out after. Outside of those three, give me one spend up and one cheap option who you feel like could break the slate tonight.
I'm going to keep going back to the Portland-Miami stuff. I think that's going to go probably a little more owned now than it was before, but I love Denny Avdia on FanDuel. He's 8K flat, which I think is a bit too cheap for what he can do in this spot. And a cheap guy, Derek Queen. Talked about him a lot. Just not going to be owned at all now with this Atlanta stuff, so still like him a good bit.
I am going to say Wemby is my spend up and my cheap option. I do think even though he's coming off the bench, he's still a very good tournament play, and that is Bub Harrington today. All right, let's start taking some questions. Going to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord first. Going to the YouTube chat second. YouTube, smash that like button for us. This is from Jim Parrish in the Discord chat, Taylor. What are your thoughts on Brandon Williams? Now, this is a guy that I was actually very much considering as a low-owned punt prior to the Atlanta news. Don't feel like he's really somebody that's necessary to play now.
Yeah, that's like a large field pivot off of Keaton Wallace, but he is a good per minute guy. He should have a role. With Klay Thompson out, Jason Kidd actually name-checked Ryan Nembhard and Jaden Hardy as people that might have minutes here to give them a spark. Didn't name Williams, which is a little bit concerning, but if you want to fire the dart, I think it's decent enough.
FanDuel Cash 3v3. Jokic, Kamara, McCollum, or Zubats, Washington, and Harden.
That was cash?
Yeah.
Second one then.
Yeah, I like that as well. QQ for TJ. DK single entry. Can I stack Tampa Bay Lightning with Utah's goalie? I did not look at NHL today. I apologize. I'm not the one to ask for that one. Better throw it in the NHL Discord. How viable do you think Peyton Watson will be if Aaron Gordon and Murray miss?
That's pretty deep. Let's see what he is over there. 3.9.
He says he looks real nice in the what if projections for if those guys are out.
Yeah, if you want to like sacrifice Mo Gay and just hope that a lower owned Peyton Watson beats him, that's certainly possible. So don't hate that, assuming he would start.
DK GPP, Herb Jones or Queen and leave the money.
What was that?
Herb Jones or Queen and leave the money on the table.
I think Queen probably has the higher ceiling, even in limited minutes. I would side with him.
Shaden Sharp available to play as expected. DK GPP, Dyson Daniels and Jaime Jaquez or Trey Johnson and Denny Avdia. Don't really like either of those.
I like the second one. I don't really love Jaquez.
Yeah, Johnson and Avdia. I like that one better as well. DK Cash 2v2, Flag and Risa Shea or Trey Murphy and Champagny.
First one.
Agreed on that one. Who are your core four on FanDuel tonight? We got Keaton Mitchell, Mo Gay, Luka Doncic. Who is the fourth guy that closes out the core four on FanDuel?
Okongwu, I think.
All right. Kaishan George or Cooper Flag on DraftKings?
I'm getting more Flag. I just don't love that George is ill, so I'm siding with Flag there.
Utility spot, you want De'Aaron Fox or Alex Sarr?
Sarr.
Myself as well. Thoughts on Smart with Luka as a combo play? For me, if you're playing him at shooting guard, sure, because shooting guard is just so bad that I think there's so many guys you can play. If he's slotted into a point guard spot on FanDuel, absolutely not. There are too many other good point guard plays.
I agree. I think he's actually point guard, small forward. But it's the same thing. Like small forward's not very good either.
What do you think about Stephon Castle in DK Cash? I feel like I would rather be going with Dyson Daniels there.
Yeah, I think with Fox back, there's some risk, and he's not cheap. You have the money, it's okay. I don't think he's going to kill you, but I do think Daniels is going to be the guy you want there.
Trey Murphy, I think another one I would probably rather than Castle with De'Aaron Fox coming back. What do you think about CJ McCollum tonight on a back-to-back?
I would have liked it more without Keyshawn. There would have been a little more usage to go around. I know he's cheap, but I don't really know if there's a ceiling there. He's cheap on FanDuel especially.
Looked like he was going to break the slate yesterday and then just did nothing in the second half. His legs failed him in the second half. He only had enough juice for 2 quarters.
They don't have any reason to give him a ton of minutes, especially on a back-to-back with Bub and with Trey and all these other guys in there. So pretty risky play, I think.
Thoughts on Mamu for the Raptors tonight?
Yeah, we talked about him a little. Assuming he's off the bench behind Murray Boyles, I think he's a good... Not that Murray Boyles is going to be chalky now either, but I do think Sandro is viable.
Fox has a very low projection given his not having a minutes restriction. Just because the coach says they're not going to restrict his minutes, I don't think that means we can expect 36 minutes of De'Aaron Fox today. It's a hamstring injury he's coming off of. He probably plays 30, which again is not like 28 to 32, I would say, which is not a minutes limit. But it's still not full go Fox in a first game back. That's why I think Taylor and I are just not really interested in him today. He's fine, if you want to try and get there before everybody else does because he's so cheap. They said he doesn't have a minutes limit, but I'd be really surprised if he gets more than like 30 max max 32 minutes today. So far, my DK single entry, my point guards are Wallace, shooting guard is Johnson, small forward is Krejci, and power forward is Gay. I have 8,800 per player left. Should I go with the Luka and Wemby pairing?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty viable route.
I agree there 100%. 6,400 or less, who would be your top DraftKings utility player? Okongwu is the guy that projects the best. Is there anybody you'd be looking to pivot off of him with?
That was 6,400.
Yeah.
Probably not. I think Ware is okay, but Okongwu just projects significantly better. Keyshawn's also, is he that cheap? Yeah, he's 64. I think he's okay.
Andrew Wiggins, somebody I would throw in there as well. Oh, wait, no, I'm looking at the... Oh, no, that was DraftKings prices that I was looking at. So, hold on, give me 1 second. 64. Yeah, no, Andrew Wiggins doesn't fit that. I was looking at FanDuel prices. All right, next question. Wemby or Jokic? FanDuel cash.
Jokic.
Favorite Heat ranked on FanDuel?
Wiggins, Norm Powell, Jaquez, Davion, Khalil Ware.
Murphy and Kamara or Flag and Wiggins, DK Cash. I feel like that one is definitely Flag and Wiggins. Kamara is much more of a FanDuel play where he's a little bit cheaper. Thoughts on CJ McCollum on DraftKings? We talked about him. He's priced up a little bit more on DraftKings than FanDuel. Probably not a ton of interest in him. DKGPP, Sar and Queen or PJW and Alvarado?
First one. Sar and Queen?
Yeah, man, I'm getting my PJ and Parker Washingtons mixed up so much. Parker Washington, the receiver for Jacksonville. I've had 2 football shows already today, and I looked at him and I was like, oh, is this guy getting it mixed up just like I am? And he thought it was PJ Washington. Then I realized, nope, this is the basketball show. And that is, in fact, PJ Washington. Parker is the football guy. Frederick Ellis agrees with us with the Sar and Queen. What are your thoughts on Matas Buzelis tonight?
Don't love the matchup. He kind of has to do a lot of scoring around the rim, and Cleveland protects the rim pretty well, so not my favorite.
Is Kispert viable as a sneaky, low-owned punt at shooting guard?
I think he's viable. I don't know what kind of ceiling you're getting with Corey Kispert.
J Sam's bringing up that Norman Powell's projection looked a little bit better earlier in the day than it does now. Is there something that changed that makes him not as nice?
I don't think anything changed. He left the game briefly last night, and he was probable today, so maybe they kind of baked in some potential injury risk or minutes cap risk for him.
Pele Larson and Jaime Jaquez were also both listed as questionable, so it could have been a little bit of baked in case those guys aren't 100% kind of thing. I'm not sure, though. DKGPP. Oh, these questions are so hard, HPO trading. You're going to have 14,300 left for point guard and guard. Making me do math. 15-4 is Wallace and Luka, so you can't quite get that. Man, I don't know what to tell you. No math.
Point guard and shooting guard?
And guard. So you can do 2 point guards. You look at that. In the meantime, I'm going to answer 4,700 left. Utility, DK Cash. I would be going with Sadiq Bey in that spot or Zachary Reese-Shea if you do not have him. 7. Well, I know it's 7,150 left, but you're giving us the entire pool of guys with, and we don't know what the rest of your team looks like. HPO, you gotta help us out a little bit here. You get us a little more specific. Give us some options to choose from. Off the top of my head, I would say, man, I don't know, Flag and Holiday. That fits, I think.
How much money did he have?
$7,150 for point guard and guard. 5,800 utility on DraftKings, not named Onyeka Okongwu.
Oh God, we're running out of time.
Falls off fast.
It sure does. I don't want to say CJ McCollum after we just talked about CJ McCollum, but that might
Jeremiah Fears.
Yeah, it's viable.
Holiday and Powell, yes, that is totally viable. HPO training, nothing wrong with that. We have reached lock. Last question. What do you think about, sorry, 2 questions left. What do you think about Jeremy Grant as the last piece? Nah, I don't think you got to get there. Norman Powell over Isaiah Quickly. Who do you like better, Quickly or Powell?
Powell, just for the game environment.
That'll do it. We will be back bright and early tomorrow morning, 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern time. The People Show, NFL Grinders Live, followed by GPP Final Takes, followed by NFL Crunch Time, leading you right up to lock. 3.5 hours of football right up until lineup lock. So stay tuned. Don't forget to join us tomorrow. Hit the like button on your way out. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on tomorrow's shows. Thank you so much for tuning in today, everyone. We will see you next time. On behalf of myself and Taylor,